co-founder and senior vice president of the Orlando Magic, and I've had the privilege of being interviewed by Pavlina on Pavlina's Kidz Place, and make sure you tune in and follow these fascinating interviews that she has lined up.
Hey everyone, this is Pavlina from Pavlina's Kidz Place. I'm on location in Orlando with Orlando Magic's Senior VP and author, Pat Williams. Hello.
Pavlina, nice to meet you, nice to see you, and I'm happy we can visit.
Yes, well, thank you so much for talking to me. So, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. I'm doing quite well, feeling quite good, and continue to write books and do what we have to here, and so I'm in good spirits, Pavlina.
Awesome, that's great. Okay, so you've read over 700 leadership books, and you've also are an author of 75 books. Maybe this is like an impossible question, but what is like one thing that you always see in leaders? Good
question. I really talk about the 7 sides of leadership, so maybe I can summarize that and answer your question with a little poem. Is it all right to do a little poem on your show? 7 things one must do to be a leader right and true. Have vision that is strong and clear. Communicate so they can hear. Have people skills based in love and character that's far above. The competence to solve and teach, and boldness that has fearless reach. A serving heart that stands close by to help, assist, and edify. So that's my summation on what great leaders possess, Pavlina. They have those 7 qualities, and that little poem, I think, captures it pretty clearly.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you for that. So growing up, kids have all kinds of obstacles. What kind of obstacle did you have, and how did you overcome or deal with it?
Oh, great question, Pavlina. I had a really good life, I think, as I look back. My dad was a coach and teacher, then before he got in the insurance business. My mother had a huge influence on me. I was a sports crazy kid, from the age of 7. Loved baseball and basketball, and my parent, and I played all the way through high school in Wilmington. That's my school in Wilmington, Delaware, all 3 sports. And my parents were very supportive. They were very encouraging. So as I look back, I probably had a pretty ideal childhood. Able to, and as I look back, everything that I'm doing today, and I'm now in my 70s, everything I'm doing today really started, in my childhood. So my message to young people is simply this: your childhood and up through your teen years, it's not an isolated part of your life. A lot of teenagers think, oh, this is just a little island I'm on, and my real world starts later. That's not true. Everything that you're doing as a young person, all the way through school, is totally connected with what's going to happen with the rest of your life. So pay strict attention and really be focused on having as strong and good a childhood as you can, because everything you're doing is going to pay off later, good or bad.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, that's cool then. So I talked to Shaquille O'Neal and Vince Carter, who were with the Orlando Magic, and they have totally different personalities. So how do you put a team together, for a season and motivate them and keep them as a team?
Well, that's a great point. And at the end of the day, you've got to build a good unit, a good team spirit. And or well, oftentimes we call it chemistry, where players understand their role and accept their role, and they're not complaining and whining all the time. If you have that, it can really turn into a mess. You've got to have ball players who really want to be good teammates. Jameer Nelson on our team says, my only goal in basketball is to be the best teammate that anybody's ever had, which is a powerful statement. And so if you get those kind of players thinking, we really have to do this as a team. No matter how great you are individually, it still has to be done as a team. And that's hard. It doesn't happen automatically. That's really the prime job of the coach, to get this unit really pulling together and doing things collectively. So I think the biggest job you have is try to build a team spirit. It's not easy, but when you do it, you can have an outstanding season.
So, for a good season or for a not so great a season, do you approach things differently for your team?
Well, you've got to keep working hard. Right now the Magic are struggling, playing well, but not well enough to win games. And so you can't get discouraged. You've got to keep your chin up. You've got to keep battling and, keep encouraging the players and not let them get down on themselves. When you're winning, everything is beautiful. The sun is brighter, and the food tastes better, and your girlfriend is prettier, and I mean, everything is beautiful when you're winning.
Yeah.
But it's through the tough seasons when you're struggling that really is the mark of a team, and how well they can handle that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you have 19 kids, and I listened to one of your videos, and your kids, said that you taught them how to be motivated. So what have you learned from your kids?
Oh, that's a good question, Pavlina. I've learned a lot. We have a big family. We've adopted 14 of our children from 4 foreign countries, and they've been teaching me lessons daily for many, many years. And now with grandchildren, we have 12 grandchildren and twins expected in July, so we're learning an awful lot about the grandchildren as well. The one thing I learned in raising children, number one, you've got to have an equal balance of discipline and love in your home. If you have strictly discipline, you're going to have an angry, ugly scene. If it's just love, then it's too sweet and, it's not going to work. Discipline and love have to be equally balanced. And the other thing I've learned, you've got to spend time with your children. They want you at their games. They want you at their swimming meets. I can still hear their voices back when they were very young. Are you going to be at the game tonight, Dad?
Aww.
Meant the world to them.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be involved with what your children are doing. And you don't want to be overbearing, and you don't want to be out of control, but they do want you there and taking an interest in what they're doing. So those are a couple of quick thoughts that I've learned about parenting.
Definitely, that's great then. Okay, and I know you had a question a day for them. Like, where did you come up with that concept?
Well, I would have the question of the day. They would be there at breakfast. We had a long dining room table, and there'd be 18 of them sitting there eating breakfast. And I would lob out the question of the day. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Or I would have the thought of the day. One day I remember asking them, 20 years from now, what are you most going to remember about your old dad? I did lob that one out, and they kind of started buzzing and talking to each other. And then one of the children, it was David actually, one of the Filipino boys, he put his hand up and said, Dad, we've decided that what we're most going to remember is that you were always motivating us.
Yep.
And I kind of laughed, motivating them to keep their rooms neat and do their homework and stay out of trouble. And, I spent my whole life in that time frame, motivating them constantly. And I guess I'm still doing that. Now I'm trying to be a motivator with the grandchildren. So, that was one of the mornings that I still remember vividly.
Yes, great. That's awesome then. So, in your book, Leadership Excellence, Michael Reagan said that his dad saw a vision for ending the Cold War. And you explain, visionary leaders have to see the vision and then work back to make it happen. Is that tough to do?
Well, it's the heart and soul of leadership. Great leaders have the ability to see before others and see farther down the road than others and see in a wider scope than others. I think the vision thing really is the very essence of leadership. It may be another word for goals. I mean, a leader has to have goals. He's got to see, or she has to see them vividly. If not, nobody's going to follow you.
Yeah.
If they just think you're wandering and drifting and don't have a plan and really don't know where you're going, not many people are going to follow that leader.
Yeah.
So, but when that leader is really locked in on a vision about what needs to be done and has a timeline to it and wants to attract other people, that leader, has a wonderful head start.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Ronald Reagan's vision really was a world without communism.
Yeah.
That was his key vision. He was once asked if he had a strategy for that. He said, well, I do. We win and they lose. And that certainly happened. And so visionary leaders have always attracted me. And every great leader I've ever studied, really had that vision thing down pat.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. So leaders are leaders created, or is it just something you're born with?
Great question. I'm asked that a lot. Are leaders born or made? I think it's kind of the chicken and egg argument. My answer to that is both. They're born, obviously, and but then they're developed, and they're developed through effort and hard work and desire. You've got to really want to be a leader, and then you've got to study leadership and understand what it takes to be a great leader, and that can be done. I think that at the end of the day, everybody's a leader.
Yeah.
A leader in the home, leader in the community, a leader at your school, a leader at your church. Everybody's got a role of leadership, and that's why I wrote this book, Leadership Excellence, to really encourage people to study and kind of get a handle. And I wrote about those 7 sides. And I think if a person can really focus on that and master that, they can be an outstanding leader. It can happen to all of us.
Definitely. So what are your upcoming plans and events?
Well, I've got a bunch of books I'm under contract to write over the next year and a half, so I've got a lot of work there, and I'm traveling a great deal, speaking, so I'm on the road constantly here, it looks like, for the next 6 or 8 months. And we're expecting twins in July, which will be exciting for our family. We had a set of twins born in August.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to have 2 sets of grandchildren, twins, within 11 months.
Oh my
So
gosh.
so there's a lot going on in our family. And then, of course, my work with the Magic. So I've got a full slate.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.
Pavlina, thanks a million. I wish you